Hey, hey, beautiful people. So we looked into dry drowning this morning, and we had looked into it previously after that theory came up from somewhere. Let's not forget that Allie mentioned that as well in her interview with Unmasked. Not that Allie is the Bible, but she did go there. And she mentioned, not a lot of people know what dry drowning is, and that's the truth. When we first heard it, everyone in the chat room I was in, and I think we were in Tiffany Marie's or AB's, so there were a lot of people. And most of us were like, say what now? What's that? So, whether or not we think it happened to Summer, we're about spreading awareness, right? So, I researched it based on the fact that it could have happened to Summer because we don't know yet, and the fact that it could happen to one of us or our children. And it seemed like something that we needed to be made more aware of. So, along with that, we're going to talk about signs of abuse for the exact same reasons that I just stated. This was actually suggested by, oh man, baby, I'm going to put your name in the description. I have to go back and look at my comments from the last premiere, and um and I will get it and put it in there because it was a great idea. She mentioned Googling clinginess and child abuse or something like that because we all know Summer is starved for attention. She's clinging to that lady. And not only that lady, because that could be just a sweet lady, right? We know she's sweet. We've seen her talk, even when she's trying to be angry and say, "Stop doing this on social media." She was so sweet, she couldn't even, she's like a Tiffany Marie. Nah, Tiffany got her beat. I'm sure if she wanted to get funky, she could get funky. But is it Miss Robin? Or is it just anybody that will give her attention? If you listen to what her father said, she would run around the church. The pastor said it just the other day in the vigil. She would just run around. She loves classy ladies, I think is the word Dawn was looking for. She loves beautiful women. She just go up to them. And the pastor said she'd go to one person and then she'd jump down out of their arms and fling her arms open and go to the next. She wants attention. She's clingy to anyone that will receive her love. Now, there are children that are just like that. Oh my God, I know. But we have to teach them better, and maybe at the church is okay, but not everybody is cool just because they're in church. But I've had kids approach me at grocery stores, or there's some kids that are just talkative. Maybe they are clingy. I don't know. But we're talking about Summer and we're looking at her situation as a whole. I didn't see a lot of bruises and things in any of the pictures. So let's let's start here. There's forms of child abuse. There's neglect, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. I would say at least three of those were happening. I would say, based on what I've seen. Now, what the hell do I know? Just as much as you do. So, let's just roll through this together. Neglect. I think we saw a lot of that. We saw some dirty days where you just ran around in the country and did what you do. We saw that, but we also saw some neglect. Physical abuse, I can't say that I saw that. Um, Allie said she never saw it with the adults, but that Candace abused the kids. But when she was pressed on it, she changed it to, she just ran around with a belt. Well, those are two different things. Beating your kids to a point where someone has to tell you, hey, don't do that. You gave birth to them. That's not the same as taking a belt to them, in my opinion. Those can be very extreme differences. But so far, that's all we got to go on because nobody else has talked about physical abuse. I didn't see it, I didn't see signs of it. Let's look at emotional abuse. Well, we would have to kind of physically hear that. We know Candace got a foul ass mouth on her. We know Don can get a little angry. We've seen the battery and the assault. We've seen it all through his history, not just the one time. So we know that the parents have tendencies to talk crazy and get handsy, but did they do it to Summer? We don't know. But we're going to look at this. Sexual abuse, we don't know. It runs in the family. I mean, grandma's brother, convicted pedophile or sex offender. Donald Wells, yeah, I guess he would be junior. Ugh, too many Donalds. But anyway, registered sex offender. The uncle, um, let's see. Oh, yeah, Donald Wells himself. He was accused by his niece. So let's not play crazy because we don't do that over here. We're looking at the facts and then we're going to speculate and spin off of them. But we start with hardcore facts of the matter. Don was accused of sexually abusing his niece, period. Unless you don't believe her, which is your right, but I will never not believe a victim until someone can prove it. So it's in the family. Now, with all that said, what was Summer going through? The one that fits best when you think about the clinginess is the emotional abuse. But we're going to look at all of them because you or someone you know, their kids might be going through this and you might not recognize the signs. We're going to learn together. I have a son. I'd like to think I could recognize all the signs, but I don't. I don't know. I don't know. So, this is intriguing for me, and I think it's also relevant. Will it tell us where she is? Hell no. And for all the geniuses that like to pop into the comments and go, but that doesn't tell us where she is. No shit, Sherlock. If we knew that, somebody would be like $30,000 richer because there is a reward. Hello. If that's what we were after. But most importantly, she'd be home. So stop being smartasses and running through the comments saying weird stuff. If you don't agree or you don't learn anything from it, scroll on. Some of us do care to be educated, and some of us like to be critical thinkers, even though we're not TBI. And if we come up with something we feel is relevant enough to reach out, we're going to reach out and do our due diligence. But us having thoughts based on the theories and the information that this family has put out here is not going to impede an investigation, people. Please stop taking it out of context. When they say social media is doing this and doing that, that's not every single solitary person, and that's not all facets of social media. And that's also not your job to run around and enforce because there are, can I say, millions of people on social media, and you can't shut them all up. But if you want to shut somebody up on social media, how about you start with Donald Wales and his rants that he puts out every day for us to feed on? Or should we ignore that? Because he has the right to his First Amendment, but we don't. Because we don't have a kid missing. Get the hell out of here. So we're going to go through the theories over here, is my point. And if you don't want to do that, scroll on. With that said, let's get on into this. So, looking at neglect. Neglect is the persistent failure to meet a child's basic needs. There are four main forms of child neglect: emotional, medical, educational, and physical. Neglect is the most common form of child abuse. Children who are being neglected may not get the love they need, may not have adequate clothing, support, supervision, nourishment, and medical or health care. They may also suffer from other forms of abuse and may not be protected from physical and or emotional harm. There's a nice long list here. The following physical signs may indicate that a child is being neglected: appearing hungry as though they may have gone without breakfast, turning up to school without lunch or money for food, repeated injuries caused by lack of supervision, skin sores, rashes, flea bites, scabies, or ringworm, a thin or swollen tummy, having poor hygiene, being visibly dirty or smelling, being without adequate clothing, being tired, having poor language or communication skills, being anemic, not meeting developmental milestones, appearing to care for family members, being unsupervised, living in unsuitable home environment. Signs of physical abuse in children. Physical abuse is hurting a child through physical, violent, and aggressive means and is never accidental, such as hitting, burning, or poisoning. Parents and carers who abuse a child may do so because of emotional or behavior problems, having experienced abuse themselves, health issues, stress, and or not understanding the needs of a child. Furthermore, some new parents struggle to adapt and to understand the needs of the child. For example, they may see the child cries as an attempt to annoy them and they might become frustrated. Some signs of physical abuse include bruises, swelling, scarring, burns or scalds, broken bones, fractures, and bite marks. Children who have been poisoned may experience symptoms such as drowsiness, seizures, and vomiting. Parents who abuse their babies can cause non accidental head injuries if they shake or hit them. Some parents may tell a child they are ill and give them medication, which can make them ill or lead to death. Signs of emotional abuse in children. Emotional or psychological abuse is the sustained maltreatment or neglect of the emotional needs of a child. Signs of emotional abuse may include younger children being overly affectionate or clingy towards strangers, lacking confidence and being anxious, struggling to control emotions, lacking social skills, having few friendships, appearing to have a negative relationship with parent or carer, seeming isolated from their parent or carer, being aggressive and cruel to other children and towards animals, using language inappropriate for their age. Emotional abuse happens for a number of reasons. Parents may experience financial, material, psychological, and or emotional distress, and without help, this distress can often manifest as abuse. Two categories of emotional abuse. Emotional abuse of children tends to form into two categories: passive and active. Passive emotional abuse is more subtle than active. This is when a parent or carer refuses to provide their child with the kind of emotional care they need. It may involve emotional unavailability, bad attitudes toward the child, a failure to recognize that they must support the child, using the child as a support mechanism for themselves, involving the child in tasks that they are not emotionally ready for, and a failure to encourage social engagement with peers. That is passive emotional abuse. Active emotional abuse involves taking anger and frustration out on a child, expecting a child to meet the emotional needs of an adult, limiting opportunities for the child, expecting the child to take on responsibilities not appropriate for their age, being emotionally unavailable, and forgetting to provide the child with praise. A perpetrator of emotional abuse may ignore their victim, display excessive control, manipulate their victim, refuse to say kind comments or acknowledge positive behavior, blame or scapegoat the child, criticize, threaten, and or humiliate the kid, use sarcasm and cruel jokes to mock the kid, make the child perform degrading acts, push a child beyond their physical, mental, or emotional limitations, expose the victim to distressing events such as domestic abuse, drug taking, verbal fights, etc. Refuse to have an emotional life with the child, also known as emotional unavailability. Warning: signs of sexual abuse in children. We're going to talk about it because it happens. When a child is sexually abused, it means they have been forced or manipulated into taking part in sexual activities. The exploitation of children sexually isn't always physical. It can happen online too. There are a number of warning signs of child sexual exploitation that you need to be alert to, such as behavioral changes and health issues. The effects of sexual abuse include promiscuity at a young age, the use of sexual language inappropriate for their age, knowledge of sexual information that you wouldn't expect, sexually transmitted infections, pregnancy, trauma, unusual discharge, anal or vaginal soreness, avoiding being alone with certain people like family members or family friends, appearing afraid to socialize or interact with a certain person. What can I do if I recognize signs of abuse? If you think that a child is being abused, the best thing you can do is be prepared. The NSPCC recommends that anyone worried about a child takes the following actions: keep a note of concerns and the child's behavior. Keeping a diary helps to spot patterns of behavior and use a child protection body map. Maintain your ongoing relationship with the child. Keep talking to them and being supportive. Speak to other professionals who come into contact with the child, such as teachers, health visitors, or the designated safeguarding officer at your organization. Talk to the NSPCC or a trusted friend or family member to get another perspective and talk through your concerns. Now, this is from out of state, so we don't call NSPCC. For the record, you guys. But we do have subscribers and family in here that are from other places. So if you do have the NSPCC outside of the United States, you can call them on 0808 800 5000, and they are available 24/7 to help because this happens. So, another reason why this comes into play in my mind when I think of Summer Wells, I also think of James Riker Bill and his sister because this stuff happens and we got to read the signs and we got to pay attention and we've got to trust these babies when they say or show these signs. Um, but Summer, we all know she's extremely clingy. Could it have been from emotional abuse? Or is she just one of those kids that just loves to love? Totally possible. I guess the thing for me, you find it here. Bear with me just a second. Just a second. The thing for me is trying to figure out what has been a very good question that people are asking. Okay. Let's say something happened. It was an accident. Why the hell would she cover it up? And I've asked this so many times. I've damn near begged for the answer. I'm just like, why? What secret is so dark that you got to keep it no matter what? Of course, this is not for anyone who believes that Candace and Don are completely innocent and that Summer was abducted. This is for those who can let their mind at least go here and process the thought that if they had an accident and if they covered it up and hid her body or something like that, why? And the only thing that has made sense so far is that if they find her body, they will also find signs of abuse that nobody in that whole family wants to come out. I said in the beginning, it runs in the family. I don't know, and neither do you. But we do have to ponder the thought. I'll see you in the comments.